Okay, good morning students. Today we are going to be study the chapter number 1 of subject science, living world and classification of microbes. Can you recall what is the hierarchy for classification of living organisms? Who invented the binomial system of nomenclature? Which levels of hierarchy are considered while writing the name of in binomial nomenclature? First, hierarchy for classification of living organism. We give the hierarchy of living or classification of living organism into kingdom, subkingdom, phylum, division, class, genus and then species. In that way, we give the hierarchical classification of living organism. Second, who invented the binomial system of nomenclature? The answer is Carl Linnaeus invented the binomial system of nomenclature. Which level of the hierarchy are considered while writing the name of in binomial nomenclature? Generally, we consider the two steps for the writing the binomial nomenclature. The very first, name of the genus and the species. For example, if I want to write the names of the microbe, suppose Staphylococcus aureus. Here, Staphylococcus is genus and aureus is the name of the species, right? So in that way, by using the binomial nomenclature, we name the microorganisms. Okay? Now, come to the next point, biodiversity and need of classification. Now, what is biodiversity and why there is a need to classify all the living organisms? The very first, last year you have learned that all the living organisms on the earth have adopted according to the geographical regions, food ingestion, defense, etc. We have all seen the most of the microorganisms, all the living organisms live on the earth, land, sea, atmosphere, right? They adopt themselves as per according to the geographical regions, food ingestion, that means the mode of food that they are taking into them, right? So on the basis of that, we observe the differences in them. So thereby, to identify them, we need to classify the living organism. Now, according to the 2011 census, how many species are existing on land and sea? That is 87 million of species are existing on land and sea. That's why the vast species cannot be studied with the without the classification of microbes, right? Now, to study such a vast number of the living organism, we need to classify them. Now, how we can classify the living organism? First, we consider the similarities, then we consider the differences of the living organism. Then on the basis of that, we classify them. Now, what is the biological classification then? The process of dividing living organism into groups and subgroups called the biological classification. Now, it is the process जहाँ पर हम क्या करते हैं, उनके ग्रुप्स और सब ग्रुप में उसको हम डिवाइड कर दें, किसके बेसिस पर? उनके सिमिलैरिटीज के बेसिस पर और उनके डिफरेंसेस के बेसिस पर. Now, let's take the look of for the history of the biological classification. The very first attempt made by for the biological classification is Carl Linnaeus in 1735. He gave the classification of two kingdoms. According to his two kingdoms, the two kingdoms existing in living world, that is the Vegetabilia and Animalia. After that, second attempt has made by the scientist Haeckel in 1866. He gave the classification of three kingdoms. According to his three kingdoms, the three kingdoms existed, that is the Protista, plants and animals. Okay. Now, next attempt made by Chaton in 1925. He gave the classification of two groups on the basis of the cell. What he observed, that is prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Next classification was given by Copeland in 1938. According to the Copeland, how many kingdom existing in living world? Four kingdom. He gave the classification of four kingdom. That is Monera, Protista, plants and animals. Next classification was given by Robert Whittaker in 1969. He gave the classification of five kingdoms. That is Monera, Protista, fungi, plants and animals. Robert Whittaker classification are based on the similarities, differences, types of cell, then complexity of the cell, presence of organelles. That's why Robert Whittaker classification are widely accepted by all the scientists. Now, for the classification of Whittaker considered some criteria for the classification. The very first criteria he considered for the classification of the now let's see the Whittaker classification. Now Whittaker considered the following criteria for classification of living organisms. First, he considered the complexity of the cell structure. Complexity of cell structure means number of organelles that present in particular cell. Okay, that is, if the cell having the more organelles, that means the structure of the cell is more complex. If the number of organelles are present low, that means the cell has the simple structure. Second criteria he considered, that is the complexity of organism. That means the organism have cellular or multicellular. If cellular organism, that means it give the different classification for it, and for multicellular he give the different place it. Right? Now, third criteria considered by the Whittaker is mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition means how the nutrition was taken or is taken by the animals, right? Whether it's autotroph, that means the living organism producing his own nutrition. Second, heterotroph, for food the organism depend upon other organisms. Okay, that is heterotroph, depending on another for nutrition. Second, saprophyte. Next, saprophyte. Saprophyte means the organism live on decayed animals or dead animals is known as saprophyte. The next criteria considered by the Whittaker is lifestyle. Lifestyle means that the organisms or the living things in the environment are producer, consumer or decomposer. The living organism are producing the food for everyone. Producer in a living organisms or in environment, plants are the producer. Consumer, the consumer who consume the other living organisms. Okay, they are known as consumer or the carnivorous. Next, decomposer, who decompose all the decaying material, is known as decomposer, and most of the microorganisms are the decomposer. Now, let's see the Whittaker classification. Now we consider living organisms are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. According to the cell structure, he divided the two living organisms into prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Then prokaryotes, kingdom Monera. All the microorganisms are included, or bacteria included in the kingdom Monera. Eukaryotes. Now eukaryotes again classified into unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular means having the single cell, that is Protista. Protista are the second kingdom who considered as the eukaryotes, unicellular organisms. Next classification, that is a multicellular, in which we included three kingdoms: fungi, plants and animals. Fungi and plants are considered as having the cell wall. The fungi has the cell wall made up of the chitin. Animals having the without cell wall. But multicellular eukaryotes and included in the living organisms. So in that way he gave the five kingdom: Monera, Protista, plants, fungi and animals. Now let's see the kingdom one by one. The first kingdom, Monera. Now we have seen the curd at our home, right? If you dilute the curd and see it under the microscope, what we observe? We observe the some rod-like structure who moving from here and there, right? The moving small rod-like microbes are known as the lactobacillus bacteria. Now, all types of bacteria and some viruses are included in the Monera kingdom. Now, characteristic. Let's study the characteristic of the kingdom Monera. All the organisms belong to the Monera kingdom are unicellular. They are autotrophic. or heterotrophic. These are prokaryotic cell without distinct nucleus or cell organelles, right? They are Monera kingdom having the unicellular first. Second, they are having heterotroph or autotroph. Means where the chlorophyll pigments are present, they are autotroph. Example is cyanobacteria. Next, they are not having the nucleus and simple cell structure. Right? These are the characteristics of the kingdom Monera. Example, we can take the example of the Clostridium botulinum, then cyanobacteria, Lactobacillus, Staphylococcus aureus, Streptococcus. Okay, all these are the example of the kingdom Monera. Now come to the next kingdom Protista. Now, have you observed the pond water under the microscope? If you observe the pond water under the microscope, you observe some microorganism in water. That is nothing but amoeba. Okay. Now let's study the characteristic of the kingdom Protista. Protista are single cell organism with a well defined nucleus enclosed in a nuclear membrane. They have pseudopodia or hair like cilia or whip like flagella for a locomotion. Autotrophs, for example Euglena volvax, contain the chloroplast. That's why they perform the photosynthesis. Heterotrophs, amoeba and paramecium are the example of the heterotrophs. Okay. Protista again unicellular but having nucleus, well defined nuclear structure. Again heterotrophs and autotroph who contain the chloroplast, perform the photosynthesis, and they are autotroph. Amoeba, paramecium are the example of the heterotrophs. Okay, these are the some characteristic of the Protista. Now let's study the third kingdom, kingdom fungi. Now in rainy season we have already most of the time observed some fungus grows on our rotis or on the bread surface. Okay, what kind of it is that? It is nothing but the growth of the fungus. Okay, now let's study the characteristic of the fungus. These are the non-green eukaryotic heterotrophic organisms. Most of them are saprotrophs. They feed upon decaying organic material. Their cell wall is made up of tough and complex sugar called chitin. Some fungi are thread-like and many nuclei are present in the cytoplasm. For example, Baker's yeast, that is Aspergillus oryzae, and Penicillium mushroom. Now, these are non-green eukaryotes. Okay. Then second, they are having the cell wall made up of chitin. Then fibrous like structure they are bringing. Next, they are growing, they are saprophyte, or we can say the saprotrophic mode of nutrition. That means they grow on decaying material, right? Example, Penicillium, Aspergillus oryzae, Baker's yeast, then mushroom are the some example of the kingdom third fungi. Now, classification of microbes. Now, classification of microbes. Among the living organisms, microorganisms are the largest number, which are present in the land, sea, earth, air, and everywhere. Okay. Now, microorganisms are classified on the basis of the cellular structure. That is the complexity of cellular structure. The first, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, which include the bacteria. Second, eukaryotes. Eukaryotes include protista, fungi, algae. Another microorganism known as viruses, which are not to be shown, include in which prokaryotes or eukaryotes. It having the very simple cell structure, getting the protein the RNA and DNA, which is coded, we covered with the protein and head and tail for the support. We'll see the study of the viruses in the next session. The first, bacteria. What is a bacteria? We all have seen the bacteria who are spreading or moving in all living organisms. They are most probably present even in the other living organism also. Now, bacteria having the size 1 micrometer to 10 micrometer. Let's see the size. 1 meter is equal to 10 raised to power 6 micrometer and 1 meter is equal to 10 raised to power 9 nanometer. Okay, most of the microorganisms are very small. Micro means very small organism. They cannot see through the naked eye. We have to observe them under only the microscope. That's why they are named as a microorganism and their size ranging, that is a 10 raised to 6 micrometer and 1 meter is equal to 10 raised to 9 nanometer. That means they are very small. Okay. Now the first, bacteria. Bacteria again unicellular, right? Then mode of nutrition is autotroph or heterotroph. To contain the chloroplast, they should do the photosynthesis and have the mode of nutrition autotrophs. And to live on another animals, all the living organisms, they are having the mode heterotrophs. But most of the bacteria are parasitic in nature, means they do the harm to other organisms. Now, they generally present in the colonies. Bacteria cells is prokaryote with a cell wall, but distinct nucleus or cell organelles are absent. Okay, they are having this very simple structure. Some bacteria have the cell wall, but nucleus are absent. Next, bacterial cell is prokaryote with cell wall, but distinct nucleus. They reproduce by simple binary fissions. Okay, what they do? They perform simple binary fissions. Means they divide themselves into two halves and in that way they reproduce them by simple binary fissions. Okay. Now, in favorable condition, bacteria grow vigorously. As they adopt the favorable condition, they grow very fast. Some shape of the bacteria we will see, so that we can name them. The first, coccus. Coccus means round. So that's why the name is given as a coccus. Staphylococcus, streptococcus. Okay. These are the, on the basis of shape we gave the name. Second, spirillum. Means having the shape like a spiral. Okay. It named as a spirillum. Like Cholerae spirillum. Okay. Next, bacillus. Bacillus again rod-like structure. It named as a bacillus. Lactobacillus, Coccobacillus. Okay. Next, vibrio. Vibrio means having the shape comma. Comma shapes vibrio. Vibrio cholerae. Example is Vibrio cholerae, having the shape like a comma. So on the basis of the shape, we gave the naming to the bacteria. Now let's see the second, Protista, or generally we use the word protozoa. Now the characteristic of the protozoa, it has the size approximately 200 micrometer. They are found in the soil, fresh water as well as dirty water and sewage water. These are again unicellular organism, eukaryotes having the distinct nucleus and the cell wall. There is a great variation in cell structure. We observe in the Protista, they have a locomotion, pseudopodia for the locomotion also. This organism reproduce by simple cell division. Example, amoeba, Paramecium, Euglena, these are the example of the protozoa and they are generally pathogenic in nature. Okay. Now, fungi. fungi having the size approximately 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer. They are present in decaying material and they grow on decaying material. Their mode of nutrition is saprophyte. They are heterotroph in nature. These are eukaryotic organisms, unicellular, and some are multicellular, so that's why we can observe them naked eye also. The spores are present. They generally perform the reproduction through the spore formation. Okay. Now, they reproduce sexually and asexually also by simple cell division or through the spore formation. Example again, Baker's yeast, Aspergillus, Penicillium, Aspergillus oryzae, Saccharomyces cerevisiae are the example of the fungi. Algae. Next classification, next microorganisms is algae. Again having the same range of size 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer, but generally algae are aquatic. They also contain the chloroplast, that's why they are having the mode autotroph and some are heterotroph. Generally blue-green algae are perform the autotrophic mode of nutrition and photosynthesis. Now they are again eukaryotic, unicellular, autotrophic organism. Photosynthesis are carried out by some algae, that is through the chloroplast. Example again Chlorella, Chlamydomonas are the example of the algae. Some algae have also the application for the industrial basis also. Okay. Now viruses. Generally viruses are not considered as a living organism because they are not showing the true structure of the living organisms. Okay, so that's why they are included on the borderline of non-living and living things. They are studied under the microbiology. Viruses are extremely minute, that is the range of the viruses is 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer. So it also cannot be observed through your microscope. We have to observe them under the electron microscope. इनको ऑब्जर्व करने के लिए हमें इलेक्ट्रॉन माइक्रोस्कोप की जरूरत पड़ती है. That means they are having such a minute structure. Okay. Now example of viruses, some the very common viruses that we are still facing, that is coronavirus, right? Then wilt virus, tomato wilt virus, HIV, hepatitis. Okay, these are all the example of the viruses. Okay, now how the viruses grow then? Generally viruses contain the DNA or RNA, mostly RNA, okay, which is encoded with the protein. Protein से छपे होते हैं ये. Okay, they are having the structure head होता है, ठीक है, और tail होती है. अब tail क्यों होती है? सपोर्ट करने के लिए, सिर्फ उस सेल के ऊपर जाने के लिए उनको tail होती है. Okay, what they do? They infect the one cell. They enter the cell. Okay, viruses, and what they do? They produce their replica. वहाँ पर वो अपने RNA या फिर DNA की मटेरियल की रेप्लिका प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. As they produce the replica, what they do then? They rupture the cell wall. फिर वो सेल में जाओ रह रहे होते हैं ना, हॉस्ट बनकर उसको रप्चर कर देते हैं उस सेल को. फिर जैसे सेल को रप्चर करते हैं तो जितनी भी रेप्लिका RNA की बनी होती है वायरस की, फिर वो क्या करती है? रिलीज हो जाती है और फिर वो इन्फेक्ट करती है दूसरे सेल्स को. तो इस तरह से वो लिविंग थिंग्स में ही जिंदा रह पाते हैं. ओके, इन दैट वे दे reproduce them also and they live in the host cell also. Now viruses are generally responsible for the diseases. ठीक है, किस लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होते हैं? डिसीजेस के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल होते हैं. ठीक है, अब बहुत सारे डिसीजेस इनसे हमको होते हैं. ओके, here we finish the chapter. Okay, human poliovirus, HIV, AIDS virus. Hope you all have understood.